I'm Angie Andrews, and I am here simply just to say, stop the press. This has been an ongoing problem in Savannah. I've been here for 3 years. 3 years, and I have witnessed and taken in through my own senses the depravity of protection for the people that live in the downtown area. And I am addressing WTOC and all the other news broadcasters who think they're presenting true journalism, because in my opinion, it's a joke. I have literally worked downtown and witnessed crime firsthand, and the whole you can pass your beer from, bar to bar policy, and watch how it oppresses its people to the point where I'm almost sickened. And at the loss of Scott Waldrop, just last night on July 4th, are you serious? Independence Day? Really? And we lose one of the best. Why is that? And I'm going to speak from a very personal place, and I'm going to say, I go into the schools down here, and they are some of the worst that I've ever seen. And I'm used to the hood of Baltimore, let me tell you. There are areas that we know that we just won't venture into, even the police don't go. But down here in Savannah, it's a different story, and it's all for the protection of tourism. And I'm not from here, so I can't say that I have privy information of, the whole white money and the whole ghetto crowd and the segregation and the charter schools. But all I can say is that I go into those schools. And when I say that they are Googling the matter and that they don't even have textbooks, and I walk in as a therapist into a setting where these kids are set apart because it's their free time and they're able to, surf the internet, and they're looking up blocks held to a watermelon to simulate blowing up someone's skull. And then I have a loved one like Scott Waldrop, who was the first introduction I made to Savannah. The very first person I met while working at Ruth Chris, and his energy and vitality was just beautiful and contagious. And I compare the two, and I think about my experiences with my own eyeballs on a scene in this school and in many schools down here where gangs run rampant. And they try to say that, a simulation of a gang initiation is a cool thing to do in our free time. That points to nothing less than the great divide that we have down here in this great tourist district. And I'm speaking of the extreme white money and the ghetto hood that is so distant yet so parallel. Because there are many people that are all for the charter schools and the private schools, but up north, our private schools are really way above and beyond the private schools down here in the South. And yet again, Scott Waldrop is dead because he stood in front of a moving vehicle where hazing for initiation into a gang lifestyle was being promoted, and he chose of his own accord to save children in his pathway, and he died. I've already cried a river, okay? I've already been crying all day. I walked into work, and I'm in the hospitality industry downtown of the city proper of Savannah, and Scotty, as we know him, was the type of vitality that was contagious, and just by him crossing your path, it could brighten your day. And the thing that I find that is so miraculous about the area in which we work, which hospitality is so thriving downtown Savannah, is the fact that you have this continued segregation of the white money who are the churchgoers. And I am down with Jesus, and I'm a Christian, so I can say this. It's time to lay aside the propensity, the pretension, the propriety, and maybe execute some prayer. It doesn't really matter how decked to the nines you are when you go to church on Sunday morning, unless you are really on your knees and praying for your city during the work week. And that's my question. Savannah, are we going to sweep all of these gang initiations, this shooting in City Market? Are we going to sweep that under the rug? Because this is not the first time. out of the hope of promoting tourism and gaining income for such a poverty-struck area where there is such a great divide between the affluent and those that have nothing. Um, are we going to change up our game? That's my question. I think all of downtown proper should shut down. And I think we need to have a memorial service for Scott Waldrop and those that were unjustly shot by crossfire because somebody from the outside hood parameters wants to make a statement for who he is. The same bottom line is the same for everybody. If we don't know who we really are on the inside, we're going to try to identify with anything. And what I'm saying is that Savannah needs to start identifying itself with people that work hard, take care of its own, that supports the hospitality industry, the people that are loving and gay and Christian. Let's not separate it all. Let's not say that because we're Christian, we're better because we're not gay. Because, there's a lot of that pointing fingers going on. And, the news is not going to broadcast the idiosyncrasies, the truth, or the reality, because, in fact, they kind of need to have numbers and a following. So what do I care? Who the heck is even watching this? If somebody does, then maybe they'll think deeply on a matter. But when you cross paths with somebody that innately loves other people, you will walk away changed. You will remember that person. And that is who Scott Waldrop was. It really doesn't matter if you've sowed a lot of money into some kind of society or some kind of important program here in Savannah when we're now without a very important person. You can't bring people back. Your money can't pay to get somebody out of the grave. Maybe your faith can. And I'm going to challenge people and start to ask, can you get on your knees and can you pray? Pray for your city, because the infiltration of crime and the loss of people that do have integrity is no longer acceptable. There needs to be some change. And it's beyond a picketing. It's beyond raising any kind of funds. It's simply saying we won't stand for this. We simply won't stand for the emotional depravity that causes gang membership in the first place. Really, it's the lack there of parenting that is the major issue. And we really won't stand for the segregation that we've also participated in because we're scared. Because fear promotes a lot of decisions that we make, and it's landed us in the wrong place. We are on the wrong side of the tracks now. If there is a great divide, and it's, in fact, well, those people shouldn't associate with these people, but yet they do on every other odd-numbered street in Savannah, there's something wrong with that. I can't get Scott back. There are many people mourning the death of Scott. He was not an average person. We're not going to bring him back by memorializing him. But there needs to be change. Tourism is not the end-all be-all. Tourists aren't going to want to come here if they find out that they could be shot in city markets. You can't sweep this under the rug. There's been more than just, the headlines that make our news in the past. What, you're trying to catch up in the past 5 new stories that are unfolding? There's been a lot more before this time. I know, because I have loved ones that have worked down the city market. So don't poo-poo it. Don't suddenly say, oh my goodness, this latest incident with the death of a very prominent and iconic person in our society suddenly causes us to stand righteously on a matter. You haven't been doing so up till now. Okay, so are you going to change your story? Are you going to say, yeah, this has been going on for a very long time, and people that are from here know it? You can ask black, white, purple, polka dot. They still know it. Visitor, I'm an outsider. I still know it. And I'm going to end with this. My brother died at 15 of a heroin overdose. And the opiate addiction is something fierce down here, like nothing I've ever seen. And Savannah, I think, has unfortunately a high propensity towards poverty, which would cause that great divide, where people really have to do what they can to make money, or so they believe. But I had the privilege of meeting the drug dealer who sold my brother the heroin that was laced with rat poison that killed him. And I remember he bowed down in front of me and he asked my forgiveness. And as tears streamed down my face, I just looked at him and I'm like, you don't owe me any answers, but you owe yourself some. And I forgive you. And I pray that society forgives you. And I pray that all the sickness and the sin that breeds forgives you. Because I can't be God in your life. And I can't be God in this situation, nor would I even remotely plan to give a scenario that would justify actions of people, because again, everything's an emotional choice. I believe that's where all depravity begins. But what I will say is that Savannah has a choice. It's time to come clean. It's time to present yourself for the challenges that you really have faced. And look at it, because it's a crime-ridden city, and it needs to be cleaned up. And you're not going to be able to get away with sweeping Scott Waldrop's death under the rug. It just is not going to happen. And there could possibly be rehabilitation for every culture that resides here, every connection to history. But if I could forgive the drug dealer that killed my brother, let us begin with forgiveness. Because that will be actually what sets us all free, and we'll be able to celebrate Scott's life and those that were wounded during such a violent act. And for those of you who care, I know that not everybody out there is down with Jesus, but Scott exuded a love of Christ that is non-negotiable, because anybody that met him felt love. And in John 15:13, it says, greater love has no man than this, that he would lay down his life for his friends. And Scotty laid down his life for strangers. He stood in the pathway of a moving vehicle so that children could be saved. There are few willing to do that. Savannah has a hero. And Savannah needs to recognize that heroes are few and far between. But we can, with hope and faith and love, expunge the hatred and forgive and move on from this tragedy. Long live Scotty. We bless you and we love you. And Savannah will never forget.